All right. Now, for the moment I all been waiting for. Um, I don't know if you guys been keeping up with any of this stuff, but we've been watching Interview with a Vampire pretty religiously. Uh,
Mhm.
it's now what's on episode 5 right now. I think we're going to cover episode 1, 2, 3, and 4 just to kind of get everyone caught up, and then after we do that, we'll jump on Andor episode 9. We figure we'll push that back because nothing happened, but it's a lot more setup, and I think this Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire is a banger. Even though a lot of I don't. You tell me what you think first before I talk about what I'm thinking.
Yeah, there's a lot to unbox here, but I really like it overall. Like from a technical standpoint, like the costuming, the set design is absolutely amazing. The I really like the casting. I really like the actor who's playing Louis. He's really
Yeah, let's start. It's good.
he's just dominating every scene he's in.
He
I
is.
actually think because I've actually read the book or some a few of the books of the Anne Rice Vampire Chronicles, and I think it kind of works a lot more as a show rather than a movie. No disrespect to the Interview with the Vampire movie, you know.
Oh, it's nothing like. I mean, this is. It's so many more chapters. It makes more sense because if when it's a movie, they try to just kind of cram it all in. This
Mhm.
they let it breathe. They give you background. You understand Louis a lot more. Jacob Anderson is doing an amazing job in
Jacob Anderson is absolutely crushing it. And for that matter, so is Sam Reed. I think this is probably my favorite
it. Stop. Yeah,
iteration of Lestat.
yeah. He's interesting. He's definitely full of a lot of different things that I see, and I think those two really carry those first 3 episodes. I mean, and just seeing Louis kind of go through his transformation from episode 1 to 2 to 3 is mind blowing.
It really is, in his kind of inner conflict and that sort of thing. But yeah, he's really good. Like I said, Lestat in terms of characterization, in terms of the way he's acted, it's like the character just leapt off the pages of the book to me.
It makes perfect sense. He makes
It,
total sense.
yeah, no disrespect to Tom Cruise. Stuart Townsend was okay, uh, but
Yeah.
Sam Reed is really impressing me. And
Better
plus,
look.
it's nice to have a Lestat with a French accent this time. I'm not, Tom Cruise didn't really seem to be doing an accent. Stuart Townsend kind of seemed like he was attempting a French accent at times, and then it just kind of came off like his native Irish accent at
Dude,
times.
I even love when they're speaking in French and you hear Louis, it was more of a Creole. You hear the way he's speaking French, and then you hear Lestat when he's speaking French and how it's different. And you hear that was so good. It
Yeah,
felt real. I just want to read what Tank has over here. Love this show. Kind of a continuation of the brand Pity Old One,
I think
but
he's
a
saying
lot of
that.
changes,
Mm.
but good ones. Lestat is killing it better than Tom Cruise. Way better than Tom Cruise. That's not even giving him enough.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
and
yeah,
I like how it's the definitely the way that it's kind of jumping forward and backward with Louis kind of interviewing Daniel interviewing Louis, and the fact that they have history this time. They had an interview that ended
it
badly.
didn't work.
Yeah, so
Whoa. TV Louis greater than book Louis. Way too whiny and passive. I approve of all the changes made for Louis.
definitely, I actually like that they made him. Because in how I don't know how well you remember the original movie or if you're familiar with the book. Louis was also he was like a plantation owner in the
Oh.
original.
Mm.
Yeah,
Well,
I
that
kind
kind
of
of did that still. Think about
yeah
where they live.
yeah. He's like a brothel owner this time,
Yeah.
which
Well,
yeah.
his family still lives on that plantation.
Mhm.
Think about it. I mean, he owns that house. He had to figure out a way to pay the bill, and
Yeah.
I did with the own the property. I thought that was awesome. I love because you think about Spearman in 1915 could just be outwardly queer, especially if
Mhm.
you want to be in business. And then you're black too in a business world where you got to deal with other men that are not like you,
Mhm.
dude. That all those things, those that the way they thought these things out is so good, and the storyline,
Yeah.
the story, in the first three episodes are amazing.
Mhm. Yeah. And you brought up Louis being queer. The fact that they're actually embracing the homosexual undertones in Anne Rice's books is, I think, is really refreshing because the movies, especially Queen of the Damned, kind of went out of their way to avoid that. I feel like they kind of hinted at it in Interview with the Vampire, but the Queen of the Damned movie just really went out of its way to like no homo itself, more or less.
But I think that's
Um,
also for the time. I think that's the you have to remember the time period. The time period we're in now is a lot more acceptable, and people are understanding that's just someone else, just their own life. So why are you worried about it? But I will say
exactly.
there
You
there are
know.
there are times where I was like, wow, this is a lot. this is wow, this is a lot going on right now, and I was like, all right, I guess this is part of the movie. But it makes you understand because Lestat is not. I don't know what he is. You know, he's not necessarily homosexual. I mean, he's both. He's everything. He's bisexual by
Yeah.
nature, but is he bisexual or is he really queer but likes the variety? Like as he says, like I just like the variety. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah, which is a big part of his character throughout pretty much all his appearances throughout the books. So the fact that they really went for that,
Yeah,
I'm
they
happy.
definitely went for it.
Oh yeah, for sure. They did not shy away from that one bit, and I say more power to them. Good on them. I'm happy they did. Anne Rice always went just and Rice always delved into that. It was always a big part of her books. So I think it's there are changes, but it's very much respecting her work at the same time.
I don't know. I think it's adding to it. I think
It's
this
yeah,
interpretation is adding a lot to it, and I just gotta be honest. Like it's crazy. A
it
lot of this
is. It
is
really
it's
is.
a lot of
And
stuff going on.
I'm hearing they're trying to build like an Anne Rice like AMC channel universe more or less. I know there's another one of her books being adapted into a show that I think starts on January. It's like the name of it's escaping me, but it's not part of the Vampire Chronicles. But I know something else is starting like in a couple months. But I'm hoping since they already ordered a second season of Interview with the Vampire. I'm hoping if this keeps up, Mayfair Witches.
Mayfair Witches, yeah. Mayfair Witches.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Orgy. Um, but yeah, so I'm really hoping if this keeps up as much momentum as it keeps up, like adapt some of her other books into shows. Like give Sam Reed the spotlight and do Vampire Lestat. You know, um,
I think
do
that's interesting that they're avoiding a lot of him. I think they're doing that intentionally because we're going to get a backstory of it. And he's going to have his
yeah,
own
because and
backstory.
the reason they're doing that, I'm happy you mentioned that, is because the novel Interview with the Vampire was obviously Louis's point of view and how he viewed Lestat,
Yeah.
and the book Vampire Lestat was basically like, you know, let me tell my side of the story. I'm not such a bad guy, like I was portrayed in that
I don't
book,
know.
basically.
I mean, he could be a bad guy. He's still a vampire. Who really cares if he's a bad guy? But of course, Louis is going to make himself look better, just
Oh
because
no,
it's me.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah,
This
yeah.
is
I'm talking
from
about
my
the
point of
context.
view.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm talking about like in the context of the books,
Yeah.
like Interview with the Vampires, like Louis' point of view, and how he views Lestat. Interview with the Vampire Lestat is like Lestat's like basically trying to set the record straight, kind
It's like, man, none of that happened. I don't even know what he's talking about.
of.
Tank says, I think when you're 100 years old, 100 plus years old, it doesn't matter that much. It makes sense in the story, and they avoided that in the old movie. it does make sense to the story because that what we said. We're talking about the first 4 episodes. So he's what 159, 160 years old right
Mhm.
now. Lestat 160 years old.
Yeah, you said 100. Did you say like 159? I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. So he's like 159, 160. So he don't give a crap. He's
Mhm.
like, it's all whatever. It's just something to do. And it's made for witches. So where storyline one? Oh no, he says, yeah, sorry, witches.
Mhm.
So let's kind of get through this. Uh, episode 1 is really about Louis and how and their introduction to each other.
Yep.
Uh, episode 2 is more about once you become a vampire, how you're dealing with your former self, how you're dealing with all these human beings, even though you're no longer a human being, you are a different
Yep.
creature, right? Episode 3 is how when Louis becomes this super business dude and is doing all this crazy stuff and he's making all this money, but then they had to knock him back down a notch and remember, hey, you're still a black guy and you have a whorehouse and we're gonna we're gonna take all that stuff away. And it's funny because when you strip all that other stuff that Louis is trying to pretend like he is away, he's very animalistic, just like Lestat is.
Yep.
And that's his base thing. So I thought that was very interesting too.
Mhm.
I want to kind of group those three together because episode 4 is a different animal.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because when you introduce Claudia,
Claudia,
everything changes.
another very perfectly done character, by the way.
It's so good. She is so well casted. I
Oh,
love her
she's
point of
great.
view. She's probably the most interesting thing that happened into the first three. I enjoyed the third episode. I enjoyed the introduction. Second was just okay to me. That fourth one was a banger.
Mhm.
That fourth one, Claudia that's a banger. That was good.
Yeah.
Um, I really like how they incorporated race instead of going like their colorblind casting approach. I enjoyed that too. I thought showing. I mean, everyone sees you have an interracial queer couple.
Mhm.
That's a lot of stuff to go through in 1916 in the South, in New Orleans. That's a
Yep.
lot, you know. And Texas, OMG, oh my God, Claudia is and was amazing. Yes,
Yep.
she is so good.
She's great. She's and Claudia is such a character that's like so like when you think Claudia, you think Kirsten Dunst in the original, but
This is better.
yeah,
It makes
this new girl is like just she's
she's
amazing.
she's beautiful. She's ruthless. She's
Mhm.
has her eyes open in such a different way. She's a little mix of both of the guys. And I
Mhm.
like how they're doing with the story. How in a bad marriage, the kid is trying to hold things together.
Mhm.
And I like how they're showing that. That's what it is, and it works for a while, but in the end, it doesn't. And I like the way they're going with the story.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
really.
really? That Bailey Bass is also the new Avatar films.
Oh yeah, she's having a great year.
She's about to have a huge year. Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, um,
As you see, you saw about
yeah.
how Louis steals the show.
Mhm.
Claudia steals the entire screen when she's on it.
Yep, she's been
just seeing her, just
absolutely.
oh man.
Yeah, the last two episodes she was on, absolutely owning it.
We're not going to talk about 5 yet, but we're going to talk about 4. Because
Yeah,
yes, I agree. I agree.
it has been 2 episodes she's been on. Right, I'm on the right track.
Technically, but we're not talking about episode 5.
Yeah.
What did you think about Claudia uh, falling in love and accidentally killing her boyfriend?
Very, very effective, because, and I think something like that needed to happen because it needed to show, like she was basking in like all the cool parts of this curse, But in the end, she's an adolescent girl who's mentally maturing
and physically not.
and physically not. Physically staying the same.
Never being
So
seen as an adult. That's just
yeah,
woo.
so that sucks. So she got a raw she got a raw shake or a bad shake in that regard. Louis and Lestat were adults, were grown men when they became vampires. You know,
They have some life experience. People are going to respect them as adults.
mm-hmm.
Forever to never be respected, that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
man.
I
So
really think that scene was very necessary because it exhibits exactly what we were just talking about, and it was a great way to exhibit such. You know,
yeah, no, and it felt right.
yeah.
And then something else that kind of helped happen in that episode was Louis kind of opened up to Daniel and said, told him about Claudia, like, she's my daughter.
Mhm.
I love her unconditionally. And I have to read her diary and see every mistake that I ever made.
Mhm.
No parent wants to go through that. No parent could handle that and relive every single mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm good.
And I like how they displayed how much that was really weighing on Louis, whereas Lestat was kind of more
Yeah,
nonchalant and kind of callous about it.
see, come ça. It's like whatever.
That's just his character, you know.
But yeah, he was like when I like a pet, and you could tell Louis the whole time was like, no, I want someone else that I can latch onto. Because I mean,
Mhm.
think about that the connection. Because Lestat made her, he can't hear her thoughts. He can't talk to her, but Louis can.
Mhm.
So it's not just it's Papa Louis, but it's also the fact that I can communicate with her all the time. Like I can hear her thoughts, she can hear mine. Like we are always like one. What happens when you're not?
Mhm.
And that's why we're only doing the first 4 episodes. Because what happens when she decides I'm going to be my own person? That I'm not saving your marriage anymore. I'm not
Mhm.
doing these things. And that's where we're going to stop this one. We're only going to stop right here because I want to talk about all this stuff, and I want Tank to be around for it because I think that's going to be huge.
For sure.
This is a huge moment in this series. But before we finish up, I want to ask you one question: is there anything that you don't like right now about this series?
Um, Trying to think of something that comes to mind right away. I think I'm very happy with everything right now. I think some of the even though they're very uh scarce, like some of the flash forward scenes where Louis is talking with Daniel, they're getting quite repetitive because of the whole antagonistic relationship between the two of them.
Because the Daniel's a dick.
Yeah, and they seem to be repeating it and just hammering it home.
Yeah,
Like, not only is Daniel a dick, but Louis is a dick to him as well. They're
exactly.
dicks to each other.
Yep.
So,
Do you like the fact that Daniel is also dying
mhm,
and he has to face this immortal person while he's facing his own mortality?
mhm,
So you're hearing all
yeah,
these stories and that's pondering, what do I do?
mhm,
Do I want this?
yeah. So it's kind of I'd say that's kind of like my main complaint right now is nothing seems to really change when it goes to the scenes between Louis and Daniel. It's just them
Talking.
saying snarky, like, little dickheadish remarks to each other.
Well, what about the dinner scene? The dinner scene was pretty interesting.
The dinner scene was cool.
Yeah, and he had a guy that's coming over like, yeah, yeah. and he sucks his blood, and then he's like, all right, get out. And he like passes out in the hallway. He doesn't do it to eat. He's like, I don't kill anymore. And I want you readers to understand, I don't kill anymore. I haven't done it in like 22 years. Talking about Lou, you've been in life for like 100. It's over 100. But like, I haven't smoked a cigarette in like 5 minutes. I don't smoke no more. All right. At any point in time, you can kill anyone. It's just whatever. But I do think this is interesting. This whole series is interesting. I like what they're doing. I can't wait to see what next week holds.
Same. It's been like the number one thing that I look forward to the most on my Sundays now.
Well, next week we'll have Tank here, guys, and we will cover episodes 5 and 6. And until then, thanks for listening. Please subscribe, like the video, and comment it below. Tell us about what you think about the show so far. What do you think about Anne Rice's views?
Too.
I want to hear everything you guys thinking. Let us know. And we will see you guys soon.